Welcome to Kickin Game. Today we have Jason Maiden, founder and CEO of Silicon Valley, formerly Super Heroic and previous Nike exec for over 13 years, where he led contribution, innovative sport performance for our favorite athletes and cultural icons, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Derek Jeter, and Michael Jordan. We also have Olatunde, founder of Street Code, a community-based innovation hub that provides free technology training in coding, entrepreneurship, and design. He's a life servant whose mission is to change the world and inspire our future generation. Let's kick game. What age is the optimal time to kind of break your kid into tech?
Whether you're 5 or 15, there's a place for you in tech.
Okay.
So they should start as early as possible. It's like basketball. We get exposed to it. We figure out it's for me. And the minute I make a connection, whether it be 3, 5, 15, I'm in it.
Right.
And I'm all in. And that's the same way with tech and innovation.
For sure. And so, like, whether you're breaking into them at 5 or 15, if I'm a parent and I'm saying, hey, I want to get my kid involved, what's kind of like that best recommendation to kind of exposing them to it?
Well, we actually filled that gap.
Okay.
So there were parents who wanted their kids to be in tech. They saw the writing on the wall. They knew what innovation was. It meant the future, and they wanted their kids to be a part of that future. And there wasn't a place that made them feel welcome. There wasn't a place that made them get a positive introduction to technology. Mm-hmm. And so we became that. So I would tell any parent, we're open to all ages. Mm-hmm. Come, Street Code Academy, streetcode.us, sign them up. Whether you're 5 or 15, there's a class for you. And we have actually tracks. Hack, hustle, design. Okay. Which means that if you're interested in coding, we got a track for you. If you're interested in entrepreneurship and you want to build a business, there's a track for you. If you're interested in creativity and design, we got a track for you. Mm-hmm. So whatever you like, we got a class for you, and whatever age you are, something there.
That's dope.
We didn't start off Street Code with youth having opportunity, with people believing that youth could hold that. You know, it took, my brother here, Jason, who built a company almost with a secondary purpose of allowing our young people to become the heroes they are, and he knows them to be. And so when he built a company, one of the first things he did was, call me on the phone and said, look, man, I want to invest in Street Code. I want to give you the resources to not only as an investment, just keep on as an organization, but I want to bring on 15, 9 to 16-year-olds who could have a 1-year fellowship and be essentially entrepreneurs in residence. And that was incredible because we hadn't had a company to that date. None of the major companies invest to that level, and certainly not allow 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds to be seen as real contributors and real innovators and real entrepreneurs. And so why is it important? Well, because already you're telling a young person something most of us have never heard before. Most of us have never been seen in a way where we actually have value. Even the term intern is to come in and watch what's going on, but you don't have it. And there was a time when it was called, they were being seen as, okay, you can contribute with your research. But to say, not only can you offer value to my company, but I want to offer value in your idea. Mm-hmm. And so we had 9-year-old, there's a young girl named Morgan who literally would come back to class and talk about the dream she had about coding. She literally was dreaming innovation because someone told her you could do it.
Right.
And so now
you gave the inspiration.
And the resources and the support. So she would come at 9 years old and sit under the CEO who's equipping her with the tools. She had to be on the same Slack thread with Jason as he was with his other paid employees. And so she's getting that, not only that inspiration, but the real training, the real investment. Now she's able to lead a company 10 years old and have her own funding, have her own idea, build her own website, name her own pricing, build her own product, her own strategy, right? That's the confidence of coming. So why is it important? It's because you see it and then you start doing it, right? And at 10 years old, what's her next company going to be?
Right.
By 15 years old, she would have 7, 8 companies, and one of those is going to go. And so that's somebody, and she's seen it.
So, when you look at organizations like Street Code, you look at what y'all trying to do by telling these narratives, it's important that we just don't show up, but that we follow through and that we keep showing up. Because for some of these people, man, they don't have examples like us. Mm-hmm. They see us on TV, they see us in these magazines, and they think we forgot where we came from and we're unapproachable. But when you become approachable you give them permission to ask you questions, you become a real human being, then they realize that everything you've done is just born out of hard work.
Right.
There's no specialness, it's just work ethic.
Right.
It empowers you to believe you could do it.
Right.
And we have a generation of people generally that are not told they could do it. And then you have a pocket of people, thanks to brothers like Jason, thanks to people like Street Code mentors, thanks to people like you who are showing them what it is to say, nah, you do got it.
Right.
And that's impossible is made possible.
And that's what goes to the thought of you can't be what you don't see, right? And so how important visualization and representation is in spaces that aren't necessarily seen to be occupied for people that look like us. Like, it's important to be able to see women in powerful positions. It's important to see black men in powerful positions, being able to see black women or Latino women or what have you in those positions, because now you're looking at folks that can look up to you and say, okay, well, if President Obama could be president, or if Kamala Harris can be vice president, or if said such and person can be CEO, why can't I? They look like me. I identify with them. That's possible. So, I mean, that visualization is important.
Is that a lot of times our kids don't believe that people really care because it's optical. You know, they show up, they take the photos, they cut the ribbon, and then they don't show up again.
Right.
And I know what it feels like to be disappointed by people that you aspire to become. I know what it feels like to be let down. I know what it feels like to have people build up your hopes and never follow through. So the last thing I ever wanted to do was to tell these young people, specifically these young black and brown children, that, yeah, I want you here, but I don't want to show up enough because I don't value your time. And I would constantly tell them, this isn't charity. I have expectations of you all. I don't feel sorry for you. I'm encouraged by you. I'm inspired by you, but I don't feel sorry for you. There's nothing wrong with you. This isn't charity. And I kept telling them this message because I didn't want them to think that this was a handout. This was a hand up. We were trying to make sure that we put them in a position to start learning about the things that I was learning in my late 20s and early 30s when they were 10, 11, 12.
Right. So, what do black and brown kids need to hear right now?
I think it's critical for black and brown children to understand that they're worth it. You know, they're worth what people are fighting for. Their dreams are not canceled because they see a change in society. Their value is not diminished because society is saying that the laws are not in our favor and opportunities are being taken away. To understand that the stress and the worry that they see in the eyes of their parents is because they care deeply, not because they're afraid of what's happening. To understand that the future depends on their ability to see themselves in the future. To realize that it's incumbent upon them to not only reimagine the system, but redesign it so that it's more inclusive and equitable for not just us, but all children. And most importantly, that at the end of the day, there's no crime and no sin in being born black or brown. It's a blessing. It's a blessing, and it's an opportunity for you to tap into significant amounts of value created by your ancestors and the community you come from. And that if you want to do anything tremendous or great in life, you don't have to step on your fellow man to do it. I think a lot of times when we look at our children, they see behaviors that not necessarily the most, I would say, galvanizing in terms of identity. You know, they feel like you got to step on the next man to come up, that in order for you to succeed, somebody got to lose. I don't believe in that. I think we need our youth to understand the power of collective economics, that it's not a bad thing if you like to read and be smart. It's not a bad thing if you like mathematics and science. You're not any less black if you listen to classical music. You're not any less black if you want to speak a second language. You're not any less black if you want to travel the world and go to a foreign country and see what their cultures are like. So at the end of the day, if I have a message for the youth, it's to be you, unapologetically you. We need every single version of blackness and Latino culture and just, you know, black, indigenous, and people of color culture to show up, because it gives life to our dreams. It gives life to who we are, and it gives validation to our purpose. I think the discrepancies are a reflection of people's limited understanding of our capabilities. So I think it's manifold. It's twofold, right? First, the corporations that exist that have a lack of diversity need to course correct by putting programs into the community that reflect the future of the organization that they hope to build. Second, we need to start thinking about how do we create generational wealth through ownership. So the only way you can do that is through exposure. So you do need the big companies to expose the possibilities to the people who never think this thing is accessible that we call tech, but you also need to empower them with consistent infrastructure, because you can't just say start a company, write a business plan, get money. You need to consider, you need to have nutrition, you need to have water that's not killing you, you need to have Wi-Fi that's ubiquitous, you need to have consistent electricity, a stable environment, you need to have a school system that reinforces ownership and not just memorization of rote facts. You need to have somebody that comes and encourages you to be a person that praises discovery. So it's not just the corporation; it's the entire infrastructure that needs to reimagine how it's created. Because equity and equality and access isn't just a singular effort; it's a multi-directional effort and it's multi-generational. So I think we do need ownership, but we also have to play catch up with the generational, disparities with wealth. So we need to work and build at the same time.
For folks that might be listening in that either are part of street code or looking at street code as a viable option for them to understand a different trade or practice, what are some recommendations and maybe like 3 bullets they can say, hey, here are things you can focus on while you're in high school to get you on that journey so you're moving in the right direction?
Yeah, I would really tell people to focus on how they communicate. So learning how to effectively communicate in written communication and spoken communication is key. A lot of times the reason why we are denied access is we don't have the vocabulary to explain our ideas. So becoming, a person that falls in love with words, don't be afraid of words you don't know. I use dictionary.com all the time to make sure I can expand my vocabulary so I can describe what I want to do easier. That's the first piece, learn how to articulate yourself. Second, give yourself some type of a structure or some type of structured activity so you build discipline. 99.9% of being excellent is being disciplined. So whether it's just waking up in the morning, spreading your bed, whether it's, going to TechCrunch once a day just to read the headlines, do something each day that gives you structure, because that's going to help you when you start to build businesses or you start to explore opportunities, because there's going to be days when you get no momentum, you have no wins, and you got to somehow start find motivation. And third, I would say leverage a platform like Street Code not only to learn how to build technology and start a company, but look at your peers. You need a peer group. No person that has done anything excellent in life did it alone. The concept of a lone founder coming up with an idea at night and then having the company get acquired to go public is a myth. There's a huge amount of people behind that person that allows her to go out and create value, and we got to start seeing ourselves as a collective tribe. And with that, there's some responsibility. So my success becomes your success, and so on and so forth. Accountability isn't a word that's used enough. And in sports, it's used because you have accountability partners to make sure you're on assignment when you're playing football or you're doing what you're supposed to do in basketball. But we need accountability partners in venture creation, value creation, because without someone to hold you accountable to your dreams, it's just rhetoric. It's just
Right.
talking. So that's what I would say Street Code represents for a lot of people.
For sure. And I think that something that you and I kind of both agree on, both being former athletes and folks that kind of played in their respective sports, we understand the idea like the MVP, like the most valuable player. But I feel like, being an athlete, being able to kind of flip that on his head and be an MVP, which is a more valuable person, is something that everybody can become to adopt. If we're all looking at ourselves to become more valuable continuously, now we're seeing excellence, we're seeing greatness because we're pushing in that direction. Yeah.
100%.
And so that when you think about that, or when I hear that rather, I think about, Brother Chadwick, who, rest in peace to him. But, he oftentimes used to talk about, pursuing your passion work and understanding that the most fulfillment is going to come from that.
Yep.
And so when you realize you are working, obviously you had a moment where something really derailed you to kind of have to reshape what you were thinking and how you were thinking about what your purpose was going to be. To someone that's now trying to kind of find their purpose, what can be some of those guidelines and steps that you can maybe give to them that maybe they don't understand and maybe see the signs that you had that was maybe so overt?
Yeah, a lot of times when people don't pursue their purpose is because they think it's a crazy idea or it's impossible. Genuinely, when you feel that way, that's exactly what you should pursue. You get one shot at life. I tell people this is not a practice life. This does not give you a second chance. There's no respawning. There's no reset button. This ain't Xbox and PlayStation. This is 100% real life. And if you don't do the things that scare you, then you actually are robbing yourself of growth. And so I'm not a person that believes in just being comfortable. I want to actually grow. And, change is inevitable, but growth is optional.
For sure.
And so in doing the things that seem difficult and impossible, you have to realize it's not for you. It's for other people around you so they can see that, it is a completely reasonable task to take to become someone that, the world said is impossible to become. And a lot of times purpose just seems scary or too big. But when you break it into small incremental steps, then it becomes achievable. Everybody can do one thing per day to get to their goal. So if you look up and you've done that one thing once a day for an entire year, that's 365 steps closer to who you want to become. And that's all I did is I took the large goals of my life and broke them into small, very distinct steps, and I pursued them daily. Hey, I'm Jason Maiden, co-founder and CEO of Silicon Valley and founding board member of Street Code. The importance of donating to Street Code goes beyond the monetary contribution. What you're really doing is you're facilitating hope to be perpetual. We need resources such as computers, ubiquitous Wi-Fi. We need food, we need supplies, but more importantly, we need your presence. So when you give of your money, also give of your time. The youth that we're impacting, they're not people who are disenfranchised. They're people who are just set apart in society and said that they can't become something great because they haven't seen anyone that looks like them do something great. We're here to change that. We're here not only to give them money, but representation. We're here to give them mentorship, care, and concern. But more importantly, we're here to give them our time because their dreams are valid and their aspirations matter. So when you donate to Street Code, we understand the tax benefit of your donation. We understand the optics of the moment. But really consider this. For every one child that gets to receive the benefit of your great gift, their lives could change. They can create the next company that shifts and moves humanity forward. They can find a technology that finally gives people in disenfranchised communities the ability to see themselves in the tech industry. They can become the next great founder in Silicon Valley. And that's because you took the time to give of your resources to people that you may or may not ever meet. So listen, I've obviously fell in love with this organization. I sit on the board, so I'm biased, but there's no reason for you not to get involved. Love is always the choice. Love is a verb. It's not a noun or an adjective, and we would love for you to be involved, not only with your money, but with your time. So please, learn more about Street Code, share it with your peer group, tag it, repeat this message everywhere you go, that Street Code is doing the work that people claim to be doing. And the leaders behind Street Code, what do we get for it? Nothing. We get to see our youth actually grow up to become the people that they hope to be. And that's the return on investment that I believe is valuable. Is seeing someone actually achieve something that they said was impossible. Take care, y'all. Peace.
It's no question this is a crazy time. We are coming face to face with the racism that our country and our world face. And there's no time better than now to make the statement that innovation belongs in the hands of everyone. We need people to make the world a better place. And Street Code is preparing communities of color to be leaders, to have the mindsets, to have the skills, to have the access to be able to create the world that we need right now. We're innovators, we're educators, we're community leaders, we're youth, we're grandparents. Everyone's coming together under the umbrella of Street Code to make the community we want to see. We're doing the work, and we want the right partners. We want the right investors to invest with time, with money, with resources, with in-kind donations. We need it, and we need it now. There are people still in the middle of Silicon Valley who don't have the resources they need. It may be a laptop. It may be access to internet. It may be the tech education, but we can make that possible with the right partners. Thank you for investing in us. Thank you for investing in the future. And I guarantee you, we're going to do it and be proud of ourselves. Thank you.